Hi again then guys, and welcome to of course another circuit build for one of the 1.32 selection of vehicles, this time the Porsche, the 356. This is a highly requested car for me to actually do a circuit build for, maybe even a Blue Moon Bay tune. Now I did try it for Blue Moon Bay as a money earning vehicle, and it has potential, but I found it to be a little bit slow. So of course you could try it out if you want to, but I decided instead to repurpose it as an N200 track car to see what it could do. And usually I would take a car like this to N100 because a Porsche in N100 sounds pretty OP, but for any of you who checked out my review for the car, I took it round the Nordschleife and it was quite a lot slower than the classic Mini. So that kind of made me think, well, maybe it's not going to be as dominant in N100, so just for the fun of it, let's see what it can do in N200. Well, it turns out it can do a lot, because this is now my new fastest N200 car. It's faster than the Integra, it's faster than my N200 NSX, and it's even faster than my previous best, the Greddy Fugu Z. That is impressive for a car which certainly doesn't have the most forgiving handling out there. Now, of course, we are going to address the handling with the tune, bring it under a lot more control. However, just like the TVR Tuscan, you can definitely still get the tail out on this one. Now, as far as the upgrades go, I haven't touched the weight because it doesn't drop it. So, of course, you could modify that if you want to, but you don't necessarily need to. As far as power, of course, you'll need to fully upgrade it to get it to the peak of N200, and incidentally, you could use the essential idea for this, as far as the handling at least, for an N100 build as well. So, of course, try that if you want to. Traction control I've got turned off. That'll depend on the driver. Some people like to have a little bit, especially if you're newer to the game, for instance, or if you like the extra stability that it gives you, but you will be quicker if you learn not to use it. As far as the tyres, we've got Sport Softs. Again, some people don't seem to get this very simple concept, but putting it on racing tyres is way too restrictive. Is it the best? Yes, of course, that's the whole point of racing tyres. But if you build something to rely on racing tyres and then try and put it on sports tyres, it won't be very good. Whereas if you build it on sports tyres and make it good, then racing tyres will be even better. So that's why I do that with these tunes, especially for street cars. As far as the suspension, I would recommend dropping the weight as low as it can go. Just like you would with like a classic muscle car, bring that centre of gravity even lower. Stiffen up the springs, stiffen up the dampers, the anti-roll bars as well to reduce that body roll, and it just makes it that much quicker through corners. As far as the frequency on the springs, increase that up to 2, not quite all the way, but pretty close. Then as far as the anti-roll, I've got them on 8 and 7. You could try it on 7 and 7, see if you prefer that. It does make a difference. As far as the compression on the dampers, we've got 65, which is again pretty high, and then 92 for the rebound. I've got 1 degree of camber. Now some people will definitely want to have more, and don't be afraid of putting it up if you want to 1.5 or even 2 on the front and the back. That's down to you, of course. We've got neutral toe. You cannot adjust the downforce, obviously. For this one, I've opted for a similar setup, if I recall, to what I did with the Tuscan, which is the lowest on all 3. And that helps it to become a lot more controlled, especially when you're coasting through corners and easing onto the power. It doesn't slide around anywhere near as much. And then finally for the gearbox, of course, it is tuned up quite a lot, but at the same time, it's not the fastest thing out there as far as straight line performance, so you want the fully customized transmission. I would recommend an auto setting of 186 miles per hour. Then for the individual gears, put first all the way to the right, not to the left, because that actually helps acceleration off the line. Then with the rest, we've got 1.2, 0.9, 725, and then 605 for 5th gear, and then a final drive of 4.4. So that's it for the tune. And I already said that it was the quickest N200 car I've done so far. So let's take a look at what that lap looked like. Now, as I just alluded to when I said that it was similar to my TVR Tuscan circuit setup from a few days ago, if you are a beginner, well, I mean, chances are you probably haven't bought this because it's a pretty expensive car, but if you have, you won't find the handling forgives everything. This is no Nissan GTR, it's not an Audi TT Quattro, it's not some all-wheel drive nannying vehicle that does all the work for you. It is much more like a classic Cobra or a classic sports car like an E-Type. It does wallow around, especially the back end being a rear-engine rear-wheel drive car. Now, as far as this tune goes, it doesn't necessarily feel like a rear-engine car anymore. It feels more like a front-engine rear-wheel drive. But, of course, the front end will always be lighter because that's the setup of the car. So as far as cornering goes, I'd recommend trying to keep the car pretty straight under braking. That helps a lot under the stability side of things. And then as far as going through the corner, some corners you can give it quite a lot of power, especially low speed corners in fact. At higher speed corners, such as around the 50-second mark in this video, where they are much more higher speed, like over 90 miles per hour, you will notice that it tries to kick its tail out a bit more. So on those, feather the throttle a little bit more throttle control in general, and you'll find yourself doing some pretty good laps. Good enough, in fact, to beat some cars which I've built before, which I consider to have better handling, for sure. And that's one of the great things about this car. It's not just through corners that it's good, but it is quick in a straight line for N200 as well, which is ironic, because in N100, it's not particularly quick. So overall, if you do decide to use it, I hope you have a ton of fun with it, win plenty of races with it, and of course, if you are new to the channel and want to check out all of my other builds, then click right here on screen. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.